Hi everyone, it's Majori here, and welcome to April 2026. We are going to get into all of the astrology, all the tarot for the month, and today happens to be a full moon in Libra. So April 1st, full moon, starting the month out really strong, and we're going to get into all of these wild Aries conjunctions that are going to be happening this month. Like this month is really going to be the most Aries month probably of our lifetime. So, as an Aries myself, who just celebrated my birthday, I'm here for it. Like more Aries, sometimes the better for me. Like I want to feel my sign's presence. So we'll kind of see. I think it's going to be chaos. But at least chaos is interesting, right? But today, what we're going to just kind of start with here is the full moon. So usually I try to do a little post on my Substack about the Sabian symbols of the new and full moon for each month, but it's been really wild and crazy this year, so it's been hard for me to be consistent with that. But since I am doing the forecast for April, we're going to read the Sabian symbol for the Libra full moon, and that is going to be if you're on the East Coast, east side of the country, it will be at 11, it will be at 10:11 p.m. And the degree for this Libra full moon is at 12 degrees and 21 minutes. So as you can see here, we have the moon in Libra with this chart. So um, because it is a full moon, it is conjuncting our sun in Aries at 12 degrees and 21 minutes. I have here the Astrological Mandala by Dane Rodenar. This is one of the best books for the Sabian symbols. This is kind of like the Bible for evolutionary astrologers. This is a vintage copy, but you can definitely get this where they sell books online and get one of your own. But I'm going to read a little bit of the Sabian symbol. I think it's really fitting for just kind of like the vibe right now. Even in my own personal life, I'm like, yeah, this connects. This connects. Okay, so because this degree is at 12 degrees and 21 minutes of Libra, we always round up for the Sabian symbols. So we're going to be reading the Sabian symbol for 13 degrees Libra, and it is children blowing soap bubbles. The keynote is the cultural fantasies through which young minds dream of perfect fulfillment. And some of the keywords here are imaginative play. It has to do with using the imagination and valuing the fantasy of the collective. People dream together as they prepare to act together. So, thinking of like a musician and they're on tour and they're trying to create, the stage, the choreography for the dancers, everything. And it's a dream to prepare to, influence and to share and to connect and to create with others in the audience. So it's an interactive exchange between performer and viewer, practitioner and like clients. Like there's just so much here with like when we create and we envision something, we create it, yes, for ourselves, but we also, want to like impact other people with our creativity. And I'm going to make a post on this. Hopefully this week I have time. It's been really crazy with teaching this month for me. I'm about to teach like a month-long astrology course this month in person. But I spent over a month creating the vision for my birthday party. So um, I am a big birthday person, and birthdays are like my birthday is like my like holiday of the year. Like I don't really care about other traditional holidays. Like I care about my birthday. Like I'm one of those people. I'm sorry if that's annoying, but I spent over a month since February, early February, creating this birthday party, which was very tarot themed, and it was amazing. So if you follow me on Instagram, you've already seen pictures and bits of it, but I'm going to make a Substack post of everything, like all the details, the inspiration behind this tarot birthday party that I threw, which was also like for my coven. So it was like a coven meeting as well as like a birthday gathering tarot party. So it was very elaborate. It was the most elaborate party that I ever did. And I usually like to host in like a couple times a year, like my husband and I will host. holidays and events at our house, but this was the first time I really like went all in like this for a birthday party. But it's just interesting. It's like the cultural fantasy, but or just, with the Sabian symbol, this like fantasy of doing something for yourself, but also how it impacts others. And that's very much Libra energy. And especially I think it's interesting with Libra, this moon, this full moon today is in the 11th house of the collective. So, we're not just dreaming alone. Like we have collective dreams and visions. A little bit more about the Sabian symbol. Rituals related to the great aspirations of mankind are both sacred ceremonies and playthings for young minds. So also our court ceremonies and operas for the social elite or baseball games for the crowds. So it's like very much this it's a ritual. It's a ritual to, a concert is a ritual. A birthday party is a ritual. It's a spell. A baseball game, like, it's just like this like-minded collective influence. The opera, you're witnessing art, you're witnessing a fantasy come to life, and it's a privilege, it's a blessing, it's an honor to experience the imagination be manifested to the physical and to share that with others, but for others to also get inspiration for um, their own pursuits. Um, Another connection to this, I'm just thinking about music because music is such like a huge part of my world and my life. And Violet Grow, who is Dave Grohl's daughter, she is having her album come out. I think it's next month, or maybe it's April, or maybe it's May. I can't remember, but it's coming out in a couple weeks. And um, Dave Grohl, like he was the drummer in Nirvana, and he's like the singer of the Foo Fighters, like a very famous musician. And his daughter is only 19 years old, and she is releasing her first album. She did this really all on her own, and she talks about like a lot in interviews how, past influences, how important they were of her for her to create this album. And it's like without, the vision, the dreams of a lot of the musicians, like she especially was inspired by the 90s, like a lot of the 90s, female fronted bands and like musicians. And um, it's interesting how like without those musicians creating their imagination in the 90s and creating these bands, she wouldn't have had access to that art, to that music, to that archive, so that she could make her own album that is coming out in 2026, really 30 something years later from a lot of the music that she was inspired that influenced this album. So it's just like when we dream, when we like have our imagination, when we play with our imagination, we're doing it not just for ourselves, but for others. And there's like this very reciprocal balance between that. And I love the Sabian symbol. It's about playfulness, it's about the imagination, it's about bubbles, it's like evanescent. It's very much like just this childlike wonder. And I think like, this word has been thrown around a lot this year, which is whimsy. And I've been saying a lot with my friends too. It's like, let's just, be whimsical. Let's just have whimsy. And, just why not? Like, for some of the decorations I had like rainbow streamers and like these rainbow like hanging lanterns, and everything was like very colorful because it was inspired by the colors of the Rider-Waite-Smith tarot deck. And I'm like, why not? Why not have my whole accent wall in my living room be rainbow? Why not? It's like, why not have whimsy? Why not just, have fun and do the things and, you know, junk journal and create bad art and just like, why not? Like we have to in these kind of chaotic, crazy times, give ourselves, you know, some magic. We need to give ourselves some whimsy. And I don't know. I just kind of feel like why not? Why not add whimsy? Why not, get connected to our inner child? And that's another connection of why the Sabian symbol is very much an Aries type of Sabian symbol too. There's a reason why the opposite evokes the other, why our sun is opposing our moon or vice versa. And this is really, Aries is the child, Aries is the beginning, Aries is the youth, it's excitement, it's just playfulness, it's, the lamb, it's the baby. And I think this Sabian symbol encompasses like our, freedom, our way of imaginative play, and how that really influences who we become in life. And I think like the Sabian symbol, this full moon really wants us to lean more into whimsy, lean more into our imagination, lean more into our creative pursuits and desires and artistic temperament, and see how that can not only broaden our own lives, but broaden the lives of others. And I think that's a beautiful way to kind of start off the month here. Um, I don't know. I feel like I've been adding a lot of whimsy to my life, and I love it. Um, we're just gonna kind of like move around. So on my Substack, every month I have all the main transits of the month as well as the minor, the mundane. And um, let's just kind of jump around a little bit. I want to just kind of see about, I want to focus mostly towards the end of the month when we have all these conjunctions. But you kind of see it's like starting here. We have, of course, Neptune and Saturn are next to each other for a while, but, it's kind of starting. We have a couple planets moving there. And then we're going to move to April 9th. So next week we'll have Mars move into Aries. So, we're just going to have more and more planets like enter Aries. But this is going to be Mars, Neptune, and Saturn all in conjunction here in Aries. And then, we have our sun, still in Aries, still making its way. But, we're getting this like stellium. We're going to deepen the stellium. By April 14th, we now have probably have to change the time. Actually, let's just do April 15th at this point. So April 15th, we now have Venus in, sorry, not Venus. We have Mercury in Aries. So, we have Mercury conjuncting Neptune, Mars, Saturn, the moon, and Saturn actually on this day. So we're actually going to have our full moon, which is going to be on the 17th here. And it's going to be at 7:51 a.m. So it'll be our full moon. So it's going to be at a late degree. So it's going to be at 27 degrees in 28 minutes, our new moon in Aries. But, it's interesting because it's not only going to be conjuncting the sun, but it's also going to be in conjunction to Chiron. So there's going to be a lot that's coming up. And then we have, this Aries, stellium with Neptune, Mercury, Mars, and Saturn. So, it's really heavy Aries energy. Um, I kind of want to read the Sabian symbol for this, but I might do like a post on this on my Substack. So I'll probably talk about this a little bit more later. Excuse me. But yeah, a lot of this too is like sextiling Pluto. So, it's going to be quite interesting. There's going to be, I think, a lot of freshness, a lot of newness that comes in, especially with this moon being in. I mean, it's in the 12th house, but it's like with the 10th house. So there is something like ending and dying, and then as the month ends, everything's going to be moving into the first house, and I feel like there's going to be something new that gets reborn. But there is going to be something like I feel very dramatic, very kind of polarizing that shapes the middle of the month. And it does seem like, I don't know, it seems like um this like suddenness, but then this expectedness of like what type of karmic, energy is going to surface here. Um, maybe I will read the Sabian symbol. I feel kind of called to just kind of see how things shift within the next like 16 days as we get to the middle of the month. So I'm going to read the Sabian symbol for Aries 28 degrees here. Um, I'll maybe cover this more on another Substack post, but kind of see what happens in the next 2 weeks. Um, interesting. So the Sabian symbol for Aries at 28 degrees is a large audience confronts the performer who disappointed its expectations. The necessity for mature preparation and self-criticism. And the key word here is responsibility. So the individual is not alone concerned, for in a sense of mankind as a whole will be affected. What is required, therefore, is an objective inclusiveness of the whole environment. This is a sense of responsibility for what one's actions will produce in people who have been made to expect significant results. Yo. Um, so there's going to be something that happens around this time. Like again, just because it's a new moon doesn't mean it's going to be a new moon, but this could be really a time when people are like fed up. Like I've been saying this since like the past couple years with a lot of this Aries energy, especially with Neptune and Saturn in Aries for the next couple years. Like you cannot tell an Aries what to do. And Aries are very much, I mean, as myself, I know this. This is the energy I live and breathe every day. But, you know, I feel like, people are really people, I think, more mass scale have like seen the truth of the lies of this administration, of the chaos that we are in, not only within this country, but collectively. Like everything's getting exposed, especially with Pluto in the fifth house of like, it is very much like authority. It's very much patriarchal and it's on top. It's like everything is seen. It's like out in the world. And Pluto in Aquarius, it does not hold secrets. Like it will expose secrets. It will make sure the truth is exposed. And bringing it to the collective. So the past couple years since 2023, since this really began, we have had so much be exposed. We have had so much come to the surface, and it can feel a little overwhelming, but it's like we would rather know and deal with it and process it together than to not know and just be in disillusionment, which is what we have been the past several years. But it's kind of like, what the elite has done, especially like the 10th house, is very much, it could be very, it's very masculine. It's very masculine energy, the 10th house. It's Capricorn. It's very much connected to power and status and prestige and wealth and, reputation and status, especially when it comes to men, when it comes to patriarchal, corporate institutions. And it's all coming to the surface here. And I think like around this time, we'll see if it's actually like on the 17th, or it'd probably be a couple days before, a couple days after, especially because the moon's going to be by the 15th already in Aries. So it might be even around that day where there is kind of this collective feeling of like enough is enough, and like major disappointment, major setback. I don't know if it's going to be something political. Maybe it's someone that always you kind of put them on a pedestal and we're like, oh my gosh, like I'm so disappointed in you, kind of like the Timothy Chalamet effect. It's like he had this reputation of like this, and this could be kind of connected to the Libra energy, for example. Like he had this reputation of being someone who was very like indie and artsy and conscious and like culture. That was like a facade. Like, so we thought he was this, and maybe he was, but we don't really fully know if he was really cultured and if he was really, into the arts, or if that was just a ploy, to get attention, to, seek him out into these roles that he was able to get, and to give him this collective dissonance or his collective reputation that he was someone that wasn't like other men, and then the truth has come out, especially during his Saturn return. He just finished it, but the truth has came out of like really maybe what his character is like, and he really does want to be just like other men in like traditional forms of success, traditional forms of masculinity. So there's been this collective disappointment, and in return with him, people, he kind of has had his reputation like go into the dumpster. People don't really care for him at this time. And he lost the Oscar, which he was never, probably adequate for anyways at this time in his career. But, the cockiness, the old guard energy of like this boys club vibe is like dying. It's ending. It's dying along with late stage capitalism. And that's going to be what comes up around this new moon in Aries. And it's just like great hopes and excited expectations cannot be sustained. It's just realizing like, it's not real. It's not a reality. And it is kind of like we'll see, like maybe there's going to be some type of riot, some type of outbreak. It could be maybe something in person that happens because Aries is very much kind of aggressive, but with all this happening in the 12th house, I think it's been built up for a while, and now it's getting its volcanic release once everything moves into the first house, um within the next couple days. So I'm just going to move to the 20th here. We'll see where things move. We're still in the 12th. But we're having more conjunctions coming up here. So we have Saturn, Mercury, and Mars all conjunct. I'm gonna move to the 23rd. I don't know. Maybe it's just the time I have, but let's see. Yeah, it doesn't really matter the house placements, but there's going to be a lot that comes up um with with definitely with some type of fall of grace for someone's being confronted. Maybe it happens online, maybe it happens, behind closed doors, and eventually it comes to the surface. And I just think it is, yeah, like a large audience confronts the performer who disappointed its expectations. So we'll kind of see. Maybe this is a celebrity figure. Like, this is going to be someone well known that we're going to really kind of like question. And I think there maybe is some type of grift. There's already a lot of grifts out there, but we'll see where this hits because Aries is a very much a sign of authenticity. Like that is the key word for authenticity is authenticity. And I think this is going to be a time where more and more of like people's grift, whether it be celebrity, whether it be like a mass corporation, whether it be something governmental, whoever it may be, like the charlatans are getting exposed, especially with all this Aries energy. Um, all these planets in Aries, like it is meant to expose charlatans. I'm just going to move into the 25th because this is when we're going to have Uranus move into when does it start? Let's just go to the 26th. This is when we're going to have Uranus move into Gemini. So this is going to be for the next 8 years, basically, of the retrograde. We'll have that. It'll be next to Venus. So Uranus is moving into Gemini by the end of April. Um, Yeah, but someone's not going to be able to deliver on the expectation, like their expectations. And I think there's going to be a lot here with people like really kind of understanding that they have to just focus on creating their own version of reality that they want to see. And that like this new world kind of needs to be built, needs to be created. And there's a lot of creativity with that, I think, too, especially once Uranus moves into Gemini, it's going to be trining Pluto in Aquarius. So this is going to give us bones to like bring a lot of that whimsy from the beginning of the month and really try to make something tangible of it, trying to bring more creativity, more playfulness, more knowledge. Also we'll kind of see how travel goes this month with everything going on, but it just kind of feels like, people are no longer going to be buying the grift of, others. And it doesn't have to mean necessarily it's something political, even though there's a lot of political grifts out there. But, it could just even be like, I don't know, just so many different things. It's just like no one, like a lot of people like want something ethical to connect with and to hold on to, and that connects with their authenticity. So we'll kind of see like who is like falling from grace and who exploited their expectations onto others and couldn't fulfill them, couldn't materialize. That's going to be a huge theme to complete us into April. And even on a personal level, just kind of seeing how we're falling short of our expectations, and are we overpromising? And if we do feel like we're overpromising and we're doing too much, we have to take a step back. And this is Aries. Aries can overdo. Aries is like famous for not finishing what they start. And it's like we have to make sure that if we can perceive ourselves not being able to uphold what we said we were going to do in our own personal lives and for others, we have to be honest with that. And we have to say, hey, like I'm way over my head, or I took on too much. I got to be honest. This isn't going to come through how it was meant to come through. The honesty is also part of the integrity, which is very much, an Aries quality and traits. Aries are very honest, to a default sometimes, as well as very much transparent and direct and but it's like part of the integrity of Aries. So, just kind of see like, maybe someone who falsely delivered will be upfront about it and be like, hey, this is what I've done. I apologize. I'm so sorry. Or they'll be caught in their grift, caught in their lie, and face public backlash because of it. But there is going to be some type of disappointment that's going to happen with something, someone's, collective that has collective influence. Also, as well, Neptune in Aries is like not good for leadership. So it is going to be hard to find people who can be a good leader at this time. And I don't know if it's 14 years we have Neptune in Aries. So it's going to be hard to really find that leadership. And that's why we have to kind of focus on how we can be a good leader for ourselves. Like a lot of this is like putting emphasis and energy on ourselves. And yeah, we kind of have to be accountable for a lot. This is not a time to play around. The astrology is not a time to play around, but there's a lot of intensity. There's a lot of intensity. Everything's coming to the surface. People are going to say something about it because Aries energy is not subtle. And it's going to really kind of show us that we have to trust our own selves. We have to trust our own guiding light and force in this world. And if we're lucky enough to be in communion, be in connection with others who share that like-mindedness, who are willing to go in the trenches with us and fight for integrity, then that is a gift. That is a blessing. Let's pull some tarot cards. So, yeah, we'll kind of see what unfolds. But I think in the meantime, like, let's be magical. That's like another reason why I started this new series on Substack. It's called like things that are giving me life, like things that are making me happy and are inspiring me. I'm going to try to every 2 weeks just post about the things that I find like so exciting that are really giving me life and joy and whimsy. And I think it's good to kind of document. It's kind of like a little bit of junk journaling, like documenting things in your life that really are, keeping you going in some of these chaotic, uncertain times. And I feel with anything, it's just helped us stay more present. Neptune in Aries, Saturn in Aries, this Aries energy, the year of the horse, Pluto in Aquarius. It's just really helping us stay more present and, about how we're using our time, yes, but who we're spending our time with and what we're doing with our time, what we're, allowing our mind to consume because there's so much craziness going on. And I just feel like, there's just more intention with what, we want to spend our life doing and, when we're not pursuing lofty goals out in the world. I have a couple, I'm going to use the Toph deck today. I haven't used that deck in a while yeah, it's been a while. I think it's been since like last year since I've used the Toph deck in one of these readings. So we're going to be pulling from the Toph deck. I have a new deck, Kabbalah deck here. I just taught a class in the Kabbalah this past week, and I think I want to bring it possibly online for the Pump Priestess. So stay tuned for that to come. But we're going to pull some cards here and just kind of see like what the vibe is for April. It's a really heavy month. It's a lot going on with all this Aries energy. So it's gonna be an adventure. It's gonna be a moment. It's gonna be intense. Which is why like have your whimsy to kind of like help counterbalance all the chaos. All right. I'm gonna start with the main energy here. And as always, I will have a picture of the spread on my Substack as well as all the decks and the cards that were pulled. So make sure that you're subscribing and you will be able to see all of that. All right, so let's just pull here for a main energy. I have an oracle deck and a tarot deck with me here. Interesting start already. Okay. All right, so we have our Six of Wands reversed, and then I have this Hope card. Little duality here, but this is all that we can do. All we can do is have hope. And, with the Six of Wands, this is having us like reframe what success can mean to us. If something isn't working out, if something is, continuously failing or it just hasn't found its right timing, all we can do is hold out hope that the timing, that's the success, the mission, will be successful, that will come through, that things will materialize. And, even if you feel like you've lost a sense of hope or like something that you were creating and doing, or working on, it hasn't happened yet. You just have to think about, well, what is going on in your life at this time? What is this moment calling for you? Why, if this isn't working out for a reason, like we have to kind of trust the divine timing of our life. And, I think this is also kind of showing that traditional avenues, traditional pathways of success, maybe no longer will work. And that's connected with this Aries stellium. And I think this, new moon in Aries kind of showing like the grift doesn't work anymore. And we have to hold out hope that something new can be created, something new, a new system can bring a new form of success. But kind of rephrasing what success looks like, not saying that the dream is wrong and the vision is wrong that you have for your life, but maybe it's outdated. Maybe it's not really your dream and your vision. And maybe that's why this new moon in Libra is saying connect more with your imagination and see what more your life can become, instead of holding on to maybe an outdated version of what you thought you wanted your life to be. Does that really connect authentically to your soul's calling at this time? So, yeah, I kind of think we have to be flexible. We have to be okay with not everything going our way and working out the way we want it to work out. And I know that's really hard for, especially as me and Aries, to say, because, Aries energy is emperor energy. It's like control. We want to control our destiny. We want to, take charge. We want to win. We want to be number one. We want to have things our way. There's this bossiness energy because we have the vision. Like Aries are very visionary people. And we had this vision and we put the action behind it. We're very headstrong, the stubbornness, the bossiness to like see it through. And it's like, no, it has to be like this. And I'm very much this way. um, but it's also just kind of knowing like, okay, well, maybe this isn't supposed to be part of the plan right now, or maybe this isn't the divine timing for this plan to jump off. And all we need to do is just have hope that we will find that right timing, that it will align, and it will when it's meant to be. But we just kind of have to give ourselves some grace in April because so many things can change in a blink of an eye, especially with the astrology. All right, moving into some other cards here. Interesting. So the first major that I have pulled here is justice, and this is the scales. This is the card of Libra. So, I feel like, yeah, this Libra presence, this Libra energy, I mean, it's the opposite sign of Aries. It's really going to be instrumental here throughout the rest of the month. And I feel like it's going to be something, very collective. Like there's balance, there's power when we're acting together, when we're, communing with our community, our friendships. So I feel like there's like it could be quite literally power to the people, but I kind of feel like if we are in this together, if we find common ground and support one another in our, friendships, community, family, whoever it may be, this is where we can, make a great impact. And there's this reciprocal energy with the Justice card with Libra, but also, maybe someone will be having some justice. Maybe there is going to be some karmic justice for certain people. We're seeing it like all the time. Karmic justice is happening for certain people. Like Christy Nome yesterday and her husband, and his little big booby, kink. There's so much like there's like little small wins, little small forms of justice because the karma has to balance itself out. But there it seems like there is going to be something major coming by the middle of the month that is going to, have repercussions for certain people of power. And this is the legal system here. So maybe there is going to be some legal consequences for major political figures or just people in general who have gotten away with so much shadiness. There's going to be some karma that is going to come and find them. Karma never misses an address. It's going to come eventually. And, I have here the Nine of Swords reverse, which I like, so it's kind of like have no fear. And then, maintain a sense of hope, keep your hope alive, let go of fear. Fear is not an option. Quote by Daniel van Furstenberg, fear is not an option. Have no fear. I think of the album song from Big Thief, their latest album, Double Infinity. They have a song about that. And, I think it's just the universe, karma, whatever you want to believe in is going to balance itself. We're going to find some balance this month. And there's hope that balance, hope that justice will come, and we just have to stay positive. Staying positive, not subscribing to anxiousness, not subscribing to fear, not having things keep you up at night, not looking underneath the bed for the monsters. Like the monsters are here on Earth. Like the devils are not in hell, they're here on Earth, And I kind of think like it just, I don't know, I get a sense of, there is a lot, coming, but if we maintain an element of trust and hope in spirit, in the divine, in the universe, that things are going to work themselves out. And I have the Queen of Coins too, reversed. So there's something, I think with like some form of um tradition that is going to really break. And we'll kind of see like what old outdated models like really do not have any firm footing in this world anymore. And that's another thing too, like all we can do is progress. Like that is Pluto and Aquarius too, is progressive. It's, we have to move on, we have to move forward. Like, yes, people can try to hold us back in the past, but at the end of the day, we're moving on, we're moving forward. You can't like if you want to live in the past and like be traditional in your own sense of whatever that word means to you and do those things for your life, that's fine. But the general collective, not only what's happening in this country, but around the world, they're already moving on. So you can't like get rid of that. You can try to control it, you can try to contain it, but at the end of the day, it is still going to continue to, you can't stop the future. You can't stop evolvement. That's evolution. That's just, how the world works, how we as human works. And so I think there is going to be something here. Maybe it can be actually a woman, who has a fall of grace, but I do feel like there is some type of structure that is just no longer going to work. And people are no longer subscribing to. Two things that come to mind that, the birth rate has been the lowest it's ever been for childbearing women. And that's just going to continue. Also, as well, yesterday was Trans Liberation Day, and trans people will always exist. Trans people are angels, and they will always exist. They will always be here, no matter what type of rules. And they've always been throughout history, throughout time too. And they will continue within the future. So you can put laws, you can put regulations, but yeah, like yesterday was Trans Visibility Day. Like, people are going to be who they want to be and who in their authentic self, and that is Aries energy. So there is something here with this old guard energy, this old traditionalism, this old gatekeeping energy. And a lot of it too is like they have this administration, it's by design, having these women, in these positions of power, like, KKK Carolyn and, Pam Bondi and, like Kristi Noem, she still has some type of power and influence, but it's a reason why they always, sacrifice the women. They always put women in charge so that the men behind the scenes can continue havoc, but the women will get blamed. So it's another version of, the witch. Like it's always, vilifying a woman as the men get off scotch-free. So it's by design that these women are in these positions, but we'll maybe see what happens here with maybe a woman, maybe there's some justice that comes. But I think overall it's like outdated values on traditionalism, not finding its footing, not finding its place, no matter how much money, how much propaganda, these people try. It's no longer what people want. And it hasn't been for a long time. And maybe it never was. Um, so yeah, I think it's going to be an interesting month to just kind of see like people be like, fuck no. Fuck no, I don't want to subscribe to that limited belief system. Okay, so I have here the Ace of Wands. So, so fiery. Like it's really just lighting a new match, carrying a new torch, it's a new era. Like that's what I was telling people. I'm like, we're not going to really feel the Neptune and Saturn and Aries energy until we get to Aries season. Like this is when we really cleanse and we renew with fire. And that is our Ace of Wands showing up of like it's a new world is beginning. It's a new time. It's a new inception. It starts in Aries season. we have here, I have this manifestation card reversed. So it has like four pentacles on it. And, it's kind of like we back to that Sabian symbol. Um, of Libra first degree of Libra 13 degrees, we need to make sure like we're believing in our imagination. So it's something it's interesting how these cards are coming reversed. So, and I think this is kind of saying like the old way of doing things will no longer be successful. The old ways of just focusing on money and, your limited belief and, being very self-centered and selfish, those it's not going to work anymore. So I think people who are really materialistic and all about status and clout and those kind of more masculine patriarchal corporate low vibrational like realms of thinking of survival, like they're going to be really left behind. They're going to have such a hard time with this new arrival of fire air awakening, especially when Gemini moves into Uranus moves into Gemini, like it's gonna be fun house energy for the next 8 years when it comes to finances, when it comes to career and jobs, which is why like put a lot of value in your whimsy because that could be eventually something that sustains you in the future. People are going to lose their fucking minds who are very much like all about status and money and like very much um, that type of mentality. Like they're not going to find a place. It's going to be hard for them to find a place in this new world order that is building and becoming. And that's kind of why I think like, artists, creators, mystics, we have always been on a different wavelength. And we're going to fit right, we're going to find ourselves right at home in this new world. But the people who are very much like very afraid to tap into their authenticity and just want to be told what to do and we care about money and things like that, they're going to have a really hard time, finding stability because there's not going to be any of that traditional stability anymore. And I think that's being evident with the Queen of Coins reverse, the Six of Wands, and this manifestation. Like you have to manifest differently, you have to think differently. Um, and it's same with like traditional values, like, trying to like to push the propaganda of Christian religions. It's not working. Like it's at its all-time low. It's going to continue to dip. Like it might seem, on social media, they're paying all these, influencers to push this, religious psychosis on the collective, but people aren't buying it, especially the younger generations. So I think that's also another, traditional value that's falling, the child having children that's falling. Everything that was very male, masculine oriented and driven, like corporate America type of things, that's falling too. That's just not going to be how it is. Um, let's pull some cards here. I have this Kabbalah deck. Okay, so I have the star here, and uh, this has a lot to do with Path 28, and uh, this is going to be definitely, it's Neptune energy. We have our star. This is Aquarius. This is Pluto in Aquarius. This is our star. This is the collective. So there's going to be something, collective that really comes in. And then I have here our Six of Cups reversed. So, we really have to, we're going to be leaving the past behind. We're really going to be leaving the past behind with this energy. And I think it's okay. I think that we need to. I think we need to, leave things behind and let go. Um, and this is our sun in Scorpio energy. That's the astrology of the Six of Cups. So, there's kind of like, yeah, something emotional we're going to have to release. It's going to be a very like cathartic, but like it's something collective with the star that's happening, that we have to hold space for each other as we release. There's a lot of harmony, I think, too, with what we're releasing as well, with some of the things we don't want to hold on to. All right. I'm pulling here the Toph deck. So I have here our Five of Swords. Um So, there is some type of defeat. Who's going to be defeated? We don't know. This is Venus in Aquarius. So I don't know. I think there's going to be something kind of feminine that comes in, or like maybe a woman, fall from grace type of energy, getting some type of justice. But, there's something here that's very communicative. It's very verbal. Like it's coming out to the surface. And it could be a lot of like hard things to digest. Or, maybe it's things that have been done to women, more things coming out, to the surface from the Epstein files. Like who knows? But I just think there's something here with like feminine energy, but there's also a lot here of there's a defeat. There's like a verbal defeat. And maybe someone will have, the guts and the balls to be like, yeah, I did wrong. I was a grifter. I did these things. Like, maybe someone will be taking accountability, but if not, then their reputation will be scored by, you know, the masses online. Um, so what I have here, what's the astrology of this card? So I have Sagittarius energy. So I have Temperance coming up here reversed. So I don't know. It's kind of stressful. It says art though, so I kind of feel like what's interesting about this card is that and we have it's like Scorpio energy with the hawk with the eagle, and then we have the lion. So, we have some fixed sign energy, the lion here, which is Leo. We're about to have Jupiter enter Leo this year in the summer. So there is going to be something, it's going to take a couple months for it to really come into fruition. But, I do think like going back to this message of hope, we have to remain hope that things are always going to work out. The universe has our back, that karma will make its rounds because it always does in its own weird, mysterious way. But there's going to be a lot of like tension that comes to the collective still, and I think there's going to be some anger. There's going to be, a lot of disapproval. There's going to be disagreements, and but it just kind of shows like that maybe we can't put our faith and trust in the people we've always put our faith and trust in, and the systems that we always put our faith and trust in. We can no longer do that. Um, so yeah, I kind of think there's something, with these cards kind of showing up, and it's very intense, but there's nothing hidden here. Everything's out in the surface, but we really have to let go of old structures, of old ways of seeing success, of old ways of nostalgia, from the past. Like we just have to release it and let it go. And we have to stay present. We have to stay in the moment. And I think with the Six of Cups reversed, it's just allowing us to let go of the past to make room for this Wands, the Ace of Wands here. Manifest different, manifest better, manifest bigger. Add whimsy to your life. And we'll see what happens when Uranus moves into Gemini, and it's going to be conjunct with Venus and Gemini. Like there's going to be a lot, I think, of creative motivation that's going to come in. But that's the reading. So really intense, really intense. There's a lot going on. We'll see how this plays out and how this unfolds. Um, as always, if you want to support my work further, and become a paid subscriber, it's $6 a month, and you get access to all of my posts. And yeah, if you want a reading with me, right now I have 34% off of readings in honor of my birthday. So make sure that you take advantage of that sale that ends next week. And thank you so much, and I will see you next month. Happy April.